welcome to part 2 of Let's Turbo the MRS Spyder. We're gonna pick up right where we left off in the last video. If you haven't checked that out, I recommend going and watching it. But let's finish this thing and get it back to Craig. Okay, so I skipped a day. I was up here working. I just skipped filming. Because it was a lot of up and down, not much to film, but I got the brackets. This is the bottom, and it's not cleaned yet. It's not a finished product. Then I got this one, and I got this one. So the intercooler now fits in there and sits on its own, but I need to chop this off, finish this, clean it up, finish welding it as well. Then chop that off and figure out how I'm going to do a 2.5 inch pipe out of that. But that's another day. That's why I didn't film any of it. Today, we've got the down pipe back in because I got the 3-inch pipe I ordered and the V-band, which is right there. And I've already started making some pie cuts. Got them already tacked. I just got this last one, which put it back to flat, and it's always kind of hard to show this, but basically it's going to sit there, and then I'm going to take this pipe with the flex pipe and put it on the end of that, and it will shoot this way. So we'll come back to when all this is tacked up. Here you can see the flow a little better. Now it's looking like we're doing something. Okay, last video of today, even though you guys are getting a whole week's worth, but you can see comes up out of the bell mouth, pie cuts down into a 90, into a flex pipe. Then we have the O2 housing over here, or O2 bung. That's where the O2 sensor is going to sit. This is the wiring for it right here. And then we're going to pie cut some more, do a 90, and put a V-band right here. And then we're going to have the catalytic converter here, and then connect to the rest of the exhaust going. So it's kind of hard if you can't visualize it, but it's what it looks like so far. Looks pretty fucking cool if you ask me. So where we left off at last night was this flex pipe was actually welded directly to the polished piece. I didn't like how high it was coming up. So we decided to add that pie cut, and it lowered it by probably 1.5, maybe 2 inches. It's very low now. As you can also see, we've now cut the slip-on joint off of the, let's call it a blast pipe. It's just a straight tip with a little burnt tip added onto it. Straight pipe with a burnt tip, excuse me. So you can see right here that we have a 90-degree left, but there's no way you can make the down pipe all the way through here, add the 90, and go all the way out one piece. So we have a V-band, and we're gonna add it here, and it is now bolted on. Or, well, I should say welded. I got a little gap up here. It looks way worse on camera. Here. Little tiny gap. But there it is. We fit the flex pipe, O2 sensor, and a catalytic converter. It's a high flow. It doesn't even have a actual in and an out. It's just the same either way. So it shouldn't restrict us too much. There's the look from back here. Pretty cool. But again, all this is to give us more room for the intercooler, which I'm going to put in now and let you guys see. Now we have the intercooler in, which I haven't shown this, but I made this bracket. It's just one bolt to the cross frame, but then 2 bolts to this. 1 bolt down here, which I haven't cleaned that bracket yet. Made it presentable like I did these. Then we have 1 more bracket here, and I mean, my camera's shaking in my hand more than it's shaking the car, so. Yep. Hot side done. Okay, there has been lots of updates today. Craig, the owner, aka Inspired Drive, was here earlier. That's who captured some of the welding that I'll probably put in here. But he also took off the bumper and the bumper support. And we noticed when he took it off that he actually has been hit in the rear. And you can see by the angles, these are not all pointing the same way. So we did discover that. Thankfully, it was already bent and painted, covering any rust spots where the taillight and bumper mounts, so you can't see that. Anyway, he took the bash bar off to paint it. Then, like I said earlier, we're going to cut the bottom part of the exhaust. But now the whole rear end's off, there's a lot more room, and you can see the exhaust. And we took off the intercooler. As I showed you already, we already pie cut and made the hot pipe. And now we're going to sand this and cut this off and put a 2.5-inch pipe here going out. So we won't film that because it's loud and just annoying. But we'll come back to after I've cut it and made a huge mess all over my shop. As usual, I got carried away. I'm sure it will come out again, but we've got that welded on. Like I've explained before, it's really fun welding on this cast, so I know my welds could definitely be better, but they definitely could be worse as well. So that's welded all the way around, as you can see. It really didn't want to weld way down there, so I just ran a couple beads there, a couple beads here, and a couple beads here. So it's secure, it's not going anywhere. I guess I got to take it out one more time to just clean that bracket. But like we explained before, the back bumper guard is missing, but that's where it goes. I've already measured it up there. It just kind of sags just a hair. But we also kind of retrofitted the filter like I've been talking about in there. Really wish I could cover that up, but whatever. Anyway, we also got those all welded, and we got that welded. So we're gonna put the coupler on over there to try to make sure we are correct. And then the last thing today is get this to fit with that. And then all the intercooler piping will be done. And all we'll have to do tomorrow, aka Sunday, is take the exhaust down and weld all of it. Then we can go and do tidying up things like getting all the vacuum lines ran, getting the wiring for the fan relay and the oil pressure sensor to come out of here. So then we can button up the inside, take care of all that, put it back, such as putting that back in there. And then the last thing we need to do is put the battery down there. So lots of things, but fabrication definitely takes the longest. That's what I've been working on, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, now Saturday. You know, it's several days to be fabbing this stuff, but it's good. Okay, this is just looking cool. So you got the exhaust snaking right there, right above it. I mean, there's a little room, but I do not like how close the cat is still, but this will all be wrapped, so won't be that bad. But got that welded, got all the pie cuts right there. You come over, there's the forge blow-off valve, and there is the cold pipe all tacked together. And see how much clearance we have. It's those couple of pie cuts. This is all out of the pipe that was originally supposed to go here and straight down. So I had to get little creative. Not too fond of this joint right here, but there wasn't much I could do. And this piece was the piece I cut off of here, and it was a direct fit, so might as well use it. But it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Jesus, that's enough fabrication in one picture. You can still hear the welder. I literally just finished. So, full exhaust, cold pipe, intercooler's fully welded, and the hot side, and the little attachment for the intercooler. Good thing, because I went through a whole fucking bottle of gas and I am out. I couldn't weld anything if I wanted to right now. Today is Sunday, if you've been keeping track, or if I've been keeping it in the video, who really knows. We're just going to let this all cool because it needs heat wrap and such. And I think I'm just going to have a easy Sunday and go back to the house. We could put the hot side on. I need to clean it, but I've been working a lot this week, and I think I'm just going to have an easy day today. We'll see. Okay, so we got the V-bands covered, the bell mouth flange covered, and the part of the exhaust I didn't wrap. We've got multiple steel zip ties on there, so it shouldn't get loose ever. And now we're gonna finish by applying the high temp silicone coating. You can see it's now all painted. I'm gonna let it sit overnight. I've got a full can in these. You can tell by the sunlight, it's a new day. We're back at the shop and we've taken the whole rear of the car off. Craig, actually, in Spyder Drive, took the bash bar off and he painted it, and then we also cut the bumper. So, shit's gonna look awesome. But right now, I'm back here doing the wiring, and I've already ran, this is the fan for the intercooler. One of these is the air fuel gauge, and then the other one is an air fuel gauge I'm actually using for the oil pressure. So I got to delete the blue wire, then we'll connect the three. Okay, and now we come back. I've got all the new ones in, and most of them just needed to be pinned in because this patch harness is using the factory like 5 volt and 12 volt and sensor grounds instead of the Haltech sensor grounds, which I'm not a fan of, but it's boom slaying, so I assume that it will work just fine. But we got all those done. So that's our oil pressure, our air fuel gauge, and the fan. And then I also came in and put the vacuum line for the Haltech, which is the pressure sensor. So then we came around here and I've relocated the battery, and I've got already the ground figured out and the power. I just have to move this, which is the fuse for the sound system. Then once I extend that, this is our fan trigger, and the relay is going to sit right here. And then right here is the other side of the pressure, and I need to extend it to down at the bottom of the block. So I need to add like a foot to that. Big update time, guys. We got the 12-inch Spall fan that pushes 1380 CFM. Got a new plug because they just come with spade terminals, so we actually put a real plug on there. We have the relay. Here's all the wires coming off the relay. They're not all zip tied yet. This will sit up here behind the bumper, but we got it. The relay is finished wiring. I relocated the battery down here because it kind of snowballed. The last clip I needed to run that fan trigger wire, but in order to put the relay here and know where everything's going, I had to put the battery down there, secure it, so it goes in a factory hole down there that I just opened up a little bit and then painted so there's no bare metal. And then there's a piece of aluminum angle iron down there that the actual hook sits on and then bolts in here. You can see it's as solid, if not solider, than the pan or the intercooler. And then I just have a little rubber mat down there so that the bolts that are holding the angle iron on, it sits flat and nothing hard can puncture the battery. It's all sitting on rubber mats. But anyway, got that done. And then I also went ahead and extended the pressure sensor, like I said. So I also went ahead and put the intercooler pipes in and put all the clamps in. They're not tight yet. I also permanently mounted the intercooler. We also used the same rubber mat as isolators for the fan, and then just use zip ties. I prefer zip ties over the radiator zip ties because they never get tight enough, so they always are just a little bit loose, and that allows it to wiggle around and waller out the intercooler. This way, these things are fucking tight. It won't move at all. It's got rubber isolators here and on the back side. Right there, you can see. Anyway, right now I'm finishing up the vacuum lines, which here's our signal for our vacuum block. And then if you recall in another clip, I need to plug off both of those, but they can't be connected because one's pre-throttle body, one's after throttle body. But all the hard stuff's done, and now it's just bolting up everything I've done. So after we figure out the vacuum lines, we'll put on the blow-off valve, and then we'll start installing the exhaust. Okay, we are pretty much done. I put the heat shield back on, trimmed it for the filter. So now it breathes in here and gets some more air from back there. Spall fans on, like I said. We got the exhaust fully bolted on. We have the turbo blanket on. We have the blow-off valve, all the vacuum lines. It's really hard to capture everything I've done, but just to recap, new injectors, vacuum block, redid vacuum stuff down here, attached a water line for the turbo at the throttle body and where it came out of the head. Put the turbo on, of course. Oil pressure line, which is down there. I'll show you. So you can see the drain line. We had to take the pan off to add a drain. And then there's the T, stainless steel T. 0 to 100 oil pressure sensor and the provided -4 line. You can see this is the only part that moves. We've got over 2 fingers of clearance here. This can't move, so even if this bearing broke, it would hit the casing before it hit this feed line. So also a little wire management for the pressure line. Here's a pic of the intercooler from up above. We have fully wrapped exhaust. Plenty of clearance for the sway bar. Okay guys, we officially did it. 2 videos and you got a fully custom turbo kit for a MR-2 Spyder. We got the TRD brace back on. This bumper looks sick.
Very excited about this. So, any limitations on how I should drive this thing or anything like that, or just?
I went full throttle, so you should be all gravy.
Sweet. I like gravy. Oh my god, that sounds so good.
Was that $5,000? I think that was red line.
I'm not sure what it was.
Thing's pretty cool walking out. Had to go get gas. So, this is the first test drive that Craig, aka Inspired Drive, is doing without me. We've just finished doing full throttle tunes. Thing pulls. That thing's good. We'll see. He's gonna do a flyby, maybe. There's a guy crossing the street. Sounds so good. Okay guys, this is it. She's I'm about to take her back to Craig, aka Inspired Drive. The only casualty is I've lost the hood prop, so that's what's holding it up right now, but it works there. But if you can see right there, there's a little coolant spot. It looks like one of the 2 coolant lines just pressurized enough to leak a little bit, and I tightened it probably 1 full rotation and it looks like it stopped. So probably just a little bit loose. That's how coolant lines are sometimes. But we recap. I don't think I've gotten much footage of me tuning, but we have probably 2.5 hours of driving today, just going and doing long-term and short-term fuel trims and getting that all squared away. I just took off the rain protector for the hood vent. It's 45, 47-ish today. Air intakes were still high 60s. It's still hot in the engine bay. It is. If I didn't have a fan on it, I'd give it to you. Thing would heat soak in the summer and spring, but right now perfectly fine. If we have a heat soaking issue, even with the Spall fan this summer, then I'll go ahead and put the meth kit on and we'll just run it when it sees high intake temps. Because if we go back, the original kit wasn't supposed to have the intercooler at all and just have the water meth. So no matter what, this is a more efficient system than not having it at all. So yeah, we also mounted the Haltech Just got some zip ties on top of the amplifier, and it should be, got a little rubber mat here as well, so it's secure. The whole amp shakes. Yeah, and until it gets a pillar pod, the O2 gauge is just chilling back here. So let's go deliver the car, and basically the second build of the channel. Looks good. I love it. It drives really well. It's fun. Feels like 220 to the wheels. We're 88% duty cycles on 8 psi, so that's about all we can do. The VVT starts ramping in at 5,000 RPMs, then ramps up to about 20 at redline. No knock. It's a good pull all the way across, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. Well, we're dropping the MR-2 Spyder off and grabbing the old SR20 powered FC Arc 7.